Remember the game Skyrim? Even though I was never really fond of walking around for miles only to repeatedly click the same button, to swing an axe against robots, apparently there are 22.7 million other people out there that disagree with me. But have you ever really thought about what makes games so popular to where the entire industry is projected to be worth over $250 billion? And what does this have to do with saving 80% of my income? See, humans like achieving things. We like seeing progress, we like getting feedback, we like moving up levels and gaining accomplishments, and games are perfect for that. In fact, games are so good at keeping us playing that the World Health Organization classifies gaming disorder as an international disease.
The World Health Organization officially designated gaming disorder as a mental health condition.
So what does this have to do with saving money? Well, if we know that games are so effective at getting us to achieve and progress more to the point where it can become an addiction, why don't we turn saving money into a game? In fact, this is exactly how I'm able to save around 80% of my income every single month, which is around 13 times more than the national average as reported by the US Bureau of Economic Analysis, which they say on average Americans only save around 6.1% of their income as of May 2019. And in this video, I'm gonna go over how I use this concept of gamification in my life in order to save around 80% while still maintaining a pretty fulfilling lifestyle. I'm 21, I live in a middle-class neighborhood in North Houston, I have a car, I don't make over 6 figures per year as of right now, yet I'm still able to save this much. So hopefully if you're in a similar situation, you can take some of these ideas to save more money, and you'll see that it's actually not too hard. So we're gamifying things, right? Well, every great game has a great reward for winning it. Thankfully, the game of saving money has some pretty amazing rewards that can set you up for life. So to make your game of saving money an addictive and successful one, what is your goal with it? What is the prize for getting to the finish line? Or in other words, start learning about the benefits of investing, having money saved up, being able to live off of passive income, and that to create something like passive income, you need to have a good amount of money saved up to put in. Learn about the pains of not having enough to retire and working for the rest of your life, or not having enough to support your parents or enough for an emergency, and how dangerous these situations can be to motivate you to save more. So we have our prize at the end of the finish line, but how do we know how well we're doing? Because the next big thing that makes a great game is seeing how you're doing along the way. So let's fix that. In first-person shooter games, the main way you can tell if you're doing good or not is by how many kills you're getting. And you know, if you've prestiged or not. And in our money-saving game, we know the primary score we have to pay attention to is our savings percentage. I've tried a few different ways to go about this, but the best way that I've found is to just have a simple spreadsheet that tracks your income, expenses, how much you've profited or saved, and your savings percentage every single day. And the way I like to do it is that every single night I log how much money I made and spent for that day into a few different simple categories and review the overall stats for my income, expenses, and savings. And then once you get a few days in there, you can start to see what you're spending too much money on, what you can cut back on, what you can double down on that's making you more money, and you really start to optimize your spending and money making behaviors. And the big benefit to doing this is that before every single purchase that you make, you'll start to think to yourself like, wow, is this thing really worth lowering my savings score by like 5%? I already made a video on how to make the sheet, so I'm not going to go into it here, so I will just link to the sheet so you can make a copy for yourself with the link in the video description. Let's get back to our first-person shooter analogy because it's not entirely true. Yes, you can tell how good you're doing by how many kills you're getting, but we are social creatures. It's just not enough to see how we're doing. A great game allows us to see how we're doing compared to others. If you remember back to the beginning of this video, I mentioned how my 80% savings rate is around 13 times higher than the national average. That's really cool to see that I have such a high score compared to others, and you can use this to your advantage by looking at national stats to see how you're doing compared to the rest of the population to motivate yourself. Now, comparing yourself is a double-edged sword, and I think it's one of the most toxic things I still do to myself from time to time. But it's kind of unavoidable as a human being, so why not use this natural human tendency to your advantage? So we've talked about the end game, how to see how well you're doing compared to yourself and compared to others. Let's get into some more specific tactics that I use to save more money. Lowering your day-to-day expenses is great and all, but it can only really get you so far, being that housing is usually the biggest expense you'll have in your life. That is why I still live with my parents, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, even though like many of you, I really want to move out. And this tip is gonna be unpopular, but let's face it, most of us 18 to 21, even older than that, don't really need to move out. Most of us want to move out, including myself, but I also know that part of the reason for this desire is not because I need to, it's because I want to feed my ego, feel independent, show off to my friends on YouTube that I have my own place. But if you stop to think about it, what's really the benefit of moving out besides having more privacy? Considering that the average rent in the US is around $1,000, I don't really see anything wrong with living at home if that means I have an extra $12,000 by the end of the year to put towards business or investment or anything else like that. In fact, moving out for superficial reasons starts to look like you're shooting yourself in the foot with a $12,000 gun that you buy every single year. Of course, there are some people out there that may not be as fortunate as me to have supportive parents or a healthy home environment to justify living at home, but for the majority of people my age, it's still pretty acceptable by society to be living at home, so you might as well milk it as much as you can. And this is probably the biggest factor that allows me to save this much without, making like $1 million per year. The next biggest expense you're gonna have in your life is transportation. Now, even though I have a car, it's paid off entirely, so I don't have any monthly payments, and I hardly ever use it because I work from home. And that is what I recommend most people strive for. Right now, I work from home thanks to my business, but you don't need to have a business to work remotely to avoid commuting and spending money on gas. Today, there are many jobs that allow you to work from home, and I've talked about a few of them on this channel. And before my business was making enough money to support me doing it full time, I was still working remotely as a web developer. The majority of work from home jobs often deal with tech, but if that's really not your thing and you have like no option to possibly ever work from home, you always have the option of moving closer to your job to where it's like a shorter commute, you're spending less money on gas, or if it's like close enough, you can even bike or walk there. And not only will this save you a bunch of money in gas and car expenses, but it will save you a ton of time that you can put back into making more money, saving more money, whatever else you want. So these are some of the ways that I've been able to save around 80% of my income every single month without, living out of a box.
What?
But it all starts with gamifying your financial life and making this fun. And as strange as it sounds, I get a lot of joy out of looking at my numbers and seeing how I'm doing. There are plenty of other small little tricks out there to save money, so if you have any of them, let me know in the comments down below. And I think it's also worth noting that saving money can only get you so far, and you really should be working on saving money and learning how to make more money at the same time. These are things that I go over all the time on this channel. In fact, it's like the only thing that I ever cover on this channel. So if you've enjoyed this video and you enjoy this video style, make sure to please smash that subscribe button and turn the notification bell too, so YouTube notifies you whenever I release new videos. Your support for this channel means the world to me, no matter how cliche that sounds. And while you're down there, you might as well just, smash that like button because it's free, and why not? Being that you watched to the very end, you will probably enjoy these videos that the YouTube gods recommend that you would like. You've been awesome, I've been Jake. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.